Hello, come on in and sit down. We're just getting started here. Okay. Excellent. Okay, we are live. I am Mia Sines and this is Lori Montree, and we are Women Making Miracles with the Greatest You Academy. It's a mouthful, but it's a good one. So welcome. And we hope to have more on the call because this is about free coaching for you guys. We did get a call, a question sent in, which
Ooh,
was
actually, a few questions,
oh,
Mia.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So we're going to go with those first, and then we're going to start to ask other questions. So I'm going to take it on over to Lori.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you all for being here. And we had a wonderful response, and have got a lot of people that are signed up to receive and watch the replay. So if you are somebody who has signed up for the replay and just want you to make sure that you understand that you can submit your question, even if you can't be here, and we'll address it just like we are with the other ones that we've received on tomorrow's call, so that you don't have to feel like you are missing out. So let's go ahead. As Mia said, we're going to go through the questions that came through, and then we can certainly address any that we have here live in the room, and just have a really beautiful day of sharing, guidance and support and love. And we've got something else that's really exciting and special, and that is that Mia and I decided that this is a wonderful hour for us to spend with all of you, but we'd also like to extend the offer of having a personal call with us, an accelerated call with just you, able to really dive in a little bit deeper, help you understand what the greatest you really looks like, and how you can go about really cultivating that and living from that space. So the link for that, Mia, would you mind putting that in the chat, the calendar for you guys? Anybody here and watching the replay would like to schedule kind of a follow-up or a more intense session with us, we've decided to offer that as part of this whole coaching experience that we are kind of creating in this couple of weeks special time. So let's go ahead. I've got our thegreatestyoukcalendar.com. Yes, thank you. So here's our first question. It says, my question about coaching stems from overcoming great sadness. In the past, I was fighting my nervous system in the typical freeze and flight, not much fight. Okay, so a lot of freeze, which we know as overwhelm and exhaustion, right? Lately, my nervous system feels numb. It's almost like it's had too much. I've had to deal with a lot of emotional things this summer, and I'm looking for a practice to help with this. I've recently been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and possible, I don't know how to pronounce this, P-A-G-E-T apostrophe S, Pagets.
Yeah.
Pagets. My daughter is moving a far distance, and grief from my dad's passing. Before, I felt my nerves on the outside of my skin. Now it's the opposite. Or maybe this is not being on edge feels like after a lifetime of being on edge. Yeah. And this question comes from Tammy, and Tammy, boy, do I ever get it? Right? What you're talking about.
Yeah. And also Tammy's in the academy. So I'm glad that she was able to write in and share this.
Yeah, definitely, because that's just the kind of thing that we want to make sure, that we are addressing, and these kinds of things. This is good. Yes, that and Tammy does have some background in the nervous system and understanding what's going on for her. Obviously, she's talking about being in the typical freeze and fight, not a whole lot of fight, and lately feeling numb. Yeah. And when you think about, especially for Tammy's journey and for a lot of us, we recognize at some point, look, I've been in freeze or overwhelmed for a really long time. And then we start to understand a little bit that that's where we are. We might start to use some tools and get some education around how do I break out of that? How do I start to live again and really start to understand and master my nervous system so that I can be more alive, right, in life and turned on and really feeling confident and secure and all the things that come from a nervous system that is well regulated and calm and alive. And sometimes when we do that, that's not a straight trajectory. It's not a straight, here I am today, I'm going to go straight to where I want to be with the nervous system. Sometimes we're opening ourselves up. We have to, right, in order to get to know our nervous systems more, in order to heal our nervous system and understand what it takes in order to start to regulate again and feel good in our nervous system, for our nervous systems to stop feeling like we're being chased by tigers, or that we need to be hiding under the bed in complete overwhelm. And so sometimes when we open ourselves up to that journey and we start to allow things in, right, it can sometimes be really overwhelming. And then when you have something in life that's happening, right, passing away of a parent, and also, the daughter moving and things like that, that can be like, oh, here I am, I've opened myself up, I'm ready to live life. And then we get, life gives us some really big things, and it's it makes a lot of sense that we would want to go back into protection, right? And I think that could be some of the feelings of, now I'm feeling numb, because opening yourself up and then having to experience these big events and also, right, all the other things that maybe hadn't been tended to in the past are there, wanting to be looked at and healed. And you can imagine that in and of itself is a very it can be kind of heavy. It can require a lot of strength, a lot of resiliency just by itself. And then you put some other stuff on top of it, right? And the very natural response would be to protect and to say, whew, I'm opening up and I'm not sure I like what I'm experiencing.
Also, Lori, one thing that people have to realize, that we are only supposed to, and I know that we don't like those words, but in this sense, it'll give you an understanding. A body can only handle one big thing a year. That would be birth, death, moving, marriage, or divorce. And so you will find that people are getting married, losing people, and moving all at the same time. So this is why your system gets thrown out of its calm place. I just wanted to share that little aspect, because people don't realize that, if they can say, that's right, I had a death, there was a move. These are things that are big. We have to understand that they're very big and important. And so we don't want it helps us to move through them too, along with understanding our nervous system. Right?
Yeah. And Mia, if you think about, you said we can only go through one of those, it would take us about a year to like fully process it. But if when the divorce was going on, or when the something else was going on, and we weren't able to be in that space to process it, then we're carrying it forward beyond that year that we,
and most people do that, right? They don't process it out. And so they are carrying it. And just because you're only supposed to have one in a year, as you do your work and learn how to get realigned and rebalanced and all that, you move through that stuff in days, in weeks. It's not a whole year.
Right. But if we think about, just kind of, obviously these guidelines are that wherever they come from, they're very arbitrary. But at the same time, it does give us some sense, like, we have to process them, and that can take a certain amount of time, depending on the person, depending on their resources, depending on their skills, and just the level of safety which they feel they have in the world. And so someone that has a lot of past trauma, or maybe some of these events were not only a divorce, but one, that's very difficult, and one where you have to kind of recognize the hurt that you've been feeling all along, right? And so there's never really a cut and dry, like you said. Someone who has done a lot of work and has a lot of resources might be able to move things quicker. But the point is, here you are, maybe with some old things that are still unprocessed. You open yourself up to start to work on those, and I believe made a lot of progress. But then you're open, and you're feeling what's happening in life, and these big things come in. And so really, I just want to, first of all, honor that you have come as far as you have, and also say, yes, this makes perfect sense. You are in a space where you have opened yourself up, and you're processing old things, and you're feeling the new things or the current things in a bigger way, because you've opened yourself, right? And that's a really beautiful thing. So just recognizing and celebrating the fact that you've done that. And now you're feeling a little bit numb, and a little bit like, ooh, this is a lot. I'm not sure how I'm going to navigate it. But first of all, give yourself a lot of compassion. Like, you're going to figure out how to navigate it, because you're here, you're asking the question, you're showing up, and you're paying attention. So you're absolutely going to learn how to navigate it. And then going forward in life, you're going to have that, and you're going to be able to support yourself and meet yourself, and meet these kinds of situations as your wise, powerful, greatest self, as opposed to, the person that, a younger version that didn't have those skills and resources, and didn't really know what to do, couldn't hold her safety in the world when things came in and challenged that. So as far as the question is, that's some background, that's some understanding of why you might be feeling the way that you're feeling right now, and looking for the practice. What is the practice that could really help with this? I believe, and really for all of us, a starting point that we really want to have firmly 100% in place is access to our wise, powerful, grown-up, greatest selves, right? If we have that, we have everything that we need. And so I want to ask you, Tammy, what is it? Because I know you've done a lot of work, and I know you've experimented. What are the things that really connect you to this wise, powerful, greatest self? I think it's for a lot of people, morning practice, right? Where you sit with yourself and make space for that self to come through. It's self-care, but not in the sense of, necessarily doing something just for the sake of, getting your nails done, or a massage, or a lunch.
More self-love, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're diving deep into ourselves.
Yeah. It's not self-care for the act of doing the thing, but for the sake of connecting with self, right? So that's the question you're always asking yourself. What is it that connects me with myself? Because that's the highest form of self-care. So that's the question that I have back to you, is what is it that connects you with yourself? That is the practice that you need, because your greatest self, your wise, powerful woman, grown-up woman, knows how to process all of these things. And if you build that connection, and especially for you, because you have the support and guidance of the Greatest You Academy as a student, and you have access to us in the meetings and to the material, you're going to take that connection with your wise, powerful, grown-up, greatest self, and you're going to know how to apply these things, and we're going to be able to continue to support you and guide you. But really, I would say, because I love practicality, and so I'm like, it's great to have these ideas and say, oh, Lori said I need to connect with my higher self, with my greatest self. Okay, ready, go, right? It's hard to know what that actually looks like. So I really want to give you not the job, but the opportunity to list those three things. What are the three things right now, between now and the next time we meet in our group, What are the three things that I feel are the greatest help for me to be connected with that part of me, with my greatest self? And really ritualizing those and protecting them at all costs. That means if it's a morning practice, I am going to protect my morning practice no matter what. Now, that may not look like, 30 minutes every day, because life doesn't afford for that necessarily always, but a 5-minute practice where I am, and I know you have somatic practices as a tool because you are in the academy. So, maybe it's journaling, starting with a somatic practice, doing my journaling, my devotions, the affirmation that I really want, that's really serving me right now. Maybe it's a little bit of time in nature. Maybe it's carving out 2 or 3 times during the week when you are free of responsibility and you get to go and just live an expression of yourself, whatever that looks like on that given day and in that given moment, whether it's art or music or whatever it is. But this is the answer for today is really an opportunity for you to ritualize 3 things that you do to get connected. And because we have access to you and you have access to us, we can continue to, to build that and know what the next step is for you. But always, for all of us, the foundation of anything, I don't care what question you send in, the foundation of everything is you getting connected with you, because we don't have the answers. We don't have any of your
We don't have your personal answers.
That's
We
right.
have answers on how to guide you, but not
Exactly.
your own personal stuff.
That's my
And-
point.
Yeah.
That's my point, is that you have all of your answers. We serve as, as guides and your support and the love that's helping you lean into what you need to lean into. But all of your answers are within you, but we can't access them unless we are connected. So what are the 3 things that connect you most, and how are you going to, incorporate those into your world? We have our next meeting together on Tuesday, so we'll be able to follow up a little bit and make sure that those are feeling really strong for you, and we can also dive in a little bit deeper to anything that is left, you're left wondering about from your question.
I'd also like to add a few quick things. 1 about morning practice, and 2 about the that inner wisdom space, because some people believe in God, some people believe in prana, life force, source, creator, whatever, the universe, whatever you have, God, the name of it is all the same divine energy.
Yeah.
And so yesterday I was sharing a story of the dream, believe, create process with somebody. And it was amazing because I realized for the first time that when I do it and I hear a voice or voices come to me, that tell me things. One of the things that came to me was, you've been unhappy your whole life. What would it be like to be happy? That was in 2008 when I jumped into this lifestyle. And so what I realized was that is not per se God. That is my higher wisdom connection to God within myself. And so that's the beautiful part. As we evolve, we can understand that our connections are very powerful and deep. Now, for a morning practice, if you don't have time to journal or things like that, if you have 5 minutes, if you're going to make your coffee anyways, let's do this, everyone. Breathe when you get up. Practice your breath work on your way to the loo, to the restroom. And then when you're getting your coffee or hot lemon water or hot tea ready, do it with the awareness that you're amazing. You're worth every breath, every love that you're putting into that drink for you to then drink yourself. Because when we do this, it's just like Dr. Moto's theory on water, where he took 2 cups of water. One was, I love you, you're beautiful, and wrote all over it and froze it, sliced it, and examined it under the microscope. And it was magnificent. It was tripled and quadruple crystals. When he did it with the I hate you and shamed it and wrote horrible things on the glass and froze that, the crystals were mangled. So it's a beautiful way to implement into our daily life self-love into that, or interconnection, whatever you want to call it. it's your thing to connect to. So be aware of your own magnificence. When you do, I guarantee you that's where clients jump from the everyday ho-hum to starting to recognize that there's something deeper inside them that has love calling them. And then the solar plexus heals up and everything becomes whole. So it does take work, but use these type of morning practices too. If you can't do your journaling or going out in nature. I went out in nature today and I cut lavender because I thought I got to be up for coaching today. I want to do something sweet. It was in my backyard, but still it was good enough, So yeah, this is beautiful.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you for your
So
question, Tammy.
yes, thank you. I look forward to supporting this part of you, and I know that you are going to feel some shifts in this area, and really start to reestablish that sense of safety for yourself and confidence that you can navigate, whatever life brings to you, that underneath you're rock solid because you have you. And that's the most important lesson that we can learn. And the next question that we got was brilliant, really. And Mia, I know you're going to love this one. The question is, how do I start to listen to my intuition?
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a question that I actually get a lot, and I get it and usually it's coming from a pretty panicky kind of a space. Like someone knows, they've realized the light has come on, they realize that they have intuition, that they could trust it if they could only know that what they're hearing or what they're sensing or feeling is actually their intuition. And I think that even though it's a very uncomfortable place to be because you want it, but you don't feel secure in it yet, it's uncomfortable because of that, but it's also a really beautiful place to be because you're ready and you're recognizing that, just like I was talking about before, every answer does truly lie in you, and your intuition will guide you there. So how do you start to listen to intuition? And I think of it more of a removing of the things that's blocking, as opposed to here's A, B, and C, how I do it. And
right.
Yeah.
I also like to take people back to their childhood, because for me, that's where my intuition and my gifts came from. And so in the softer, gentler place where we go within ourselves is where, like you're saying, listen, and we dust off that area, we clear away things, and we're able to listen. It's a beautiful sense within you that all of a sudden it's a knowing so strong. But see, you guys don't trust yourself. It's a knowing so strong that you believe it and you will not do anything otherwise. Now, how to test your intuition. This is the beauty. This is stuff that's taught in our mystical side of business. How to test the intuition. Watch it. I say always, anything that you're growing in, look at it afterwards from hindsight, because you can follow the pattern of the way in which it proceeds. So with intuition, you recognize something, you get a feeling within yourself, a knowing that's incredibly strong, but you're afraid to listen, right? That's why most people don't connect. So then you watch it play out. And if you were right, the next time go, wait, this is my intuition. And you start to watch it and then you trust it. But there's other things that are also incredibly valuable. Like Lori was saying, we have to clear away all this lack of love for ourselves, the lack of connection, the lack of understanding who we are, because we have been doubters our whole life. Why? Because society, our parents, our friends' parents, teachers, everyone has told us, no, 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 no. Go sit over there, be quiet. Don't think like that. So you have to discover who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, testing your intuition. We get so afraid that we're going to get it wrong, right? And really, it's okay. if we get it wrong here and there, right? We've got our path, and if we're conscious people and we're working on it and we're trying to connect, if you go off your path a little bit because you are testing and trying to figure out how to live your intuition, then you're going to have another opportunity very soon to get right back on the path that's leading you to where you want and need to go. So don't take these decisions or these times when you're trying to listen and tune into your intuition as life or death, like if I don't make this right decision, right? Because that kind of fear, what is that going to do? We talk a lot in the academy about our nervous systems. That's a danger thought.
Stresses us, right?
Oh, that's a stressor for sure. And when we're in stress, we are cut off from our intuition. The two cannot exist at the same time, because our intuition, our brilliance really comes from the more evolved part of us. And when we're in stress and overwhelm and fear, that is shut down to us. And so we really want to just approach these, situations when we're as a kind of a fun game. Like, ooh, I'm going to see, the consequences are not as dire as we think they are, right? That's our sense of needing to control things. That's our sense of needing to have it all figured out. And that's not where safety lies. Safety lies in our ability to flow with life and trust that the universe and that, the divine source of whatever that looks like for you has got us and is leading us. And as long as we are showing up and paying attention, it's going to lead us and guide us in the right way. So when we can kind of see it as, more of like an experiment, something fun that I'm getting to know it, like Mia was saying, testing it and just looking for things and even playing with it in the sense of, my intuition tells me, XYZ is going to call today, or that, whatever it is. I don't need to get into, that's another topic for another time maybe. But when I said that learning to trust your intuition, learning to hear the voice of your intuition was more about removing the blocks than it is anything else. And so what does that look like? Mia said, lack of love for ourselves is a huge block to our intuition. And not being connected, right, to ourselves is a huge block. And some of the other things that we really dive into in the academy is, like I was just talking about, your nervous system is a big block. If your nervous system is stuck in survival, either overwhelm or fight or flight, or, you're always feeling that sense of danger or overwhelm, you're not going to have good access to your intuition. It's fear, like for the same reason. And it's very much our limiting beliefs and the stories that we have about ourselves, because we're going to always want to act in a way that's consistent with our story, with our limiting belief. And if our intuition speaks softly and gently and sweetly. And so if we're listening, you got this, story over here that's really loud. You're not enough. You never find the good mates. You can't trust yourself to call in the people who will be trustworthy and support you and take care of you, love you, and all this kind of stuff. You can't do that job. You can't succeed. People see you as incompetent, whatever the story is, right? That's loud and obnoxious, and it's drowning out the sound of your intuition. So part of the work and what we do in the academy as well is really understand what do those thoughts look like? What's that story that I'm telling that isn't true, so that I can stop listening to that story, close that chapter down, and really just be open to the truth of who I am.
Lori, it's called, I'm naming it bouncing back and forth. So there's a bouncing back and forth of our emotions, right? We're calm and then we're in fear, and then we're calm and then we're in fear. So we also talk about, how do you feel in your body? Do you want to be feeling calm, or do you want that fear? We can call in the calm over the fear. Yes. So when you're bouncing back and forth from your fear place to your calm place while you're working through your stuff, ask yourself, how do I want to feel? If we don't do this work, the somatic stuff, these questions, diving deep, nothing will change. And that's, you guys on this line are all brilliant at this stuff. And so do the simple things, and and on the replay, you guys, be aware of the bouncing back and forth of your emotions, because some people are like, I just can't hold it. You can hold it. It's part of a meditational space. If you're ruminating in your brain and you're thinking about something that's triggering you, and then you can calm down by doing your breath work, by breathing, by centering yourself, grounding, and being in your body, you're back to your calm space. And then you're in that space and you start to do other things and you don't think, and then boom, the negative or the fear comes back. You switch it again, and then you stay with it. The staying with it is a harder part, but it's an exercise just like building any kind of muscle. And watch your vernacular of, I always say, I get to, instead of I have to. I get to change. I get to have chemo. I go in and every week I say to the nurses, I get to have this, thank you. Or not every week, every couple of weeks. So it's the point of the worst thing in your life that's really the best, or something that is holding you off. You don't have to do anything. We're doing this stuff because we get to. It's our ability to shift and change and grow and to be miraculous individuals that we really are. If somebody has not told you that you're a miracle and you're deeply loved and you're not alone, then let Lori and I be the first to tell you that that's the truth about who you are. And so you have these beautiful gifts, and don't be afraid of the bouncing back and forth. It is what happens until it becomes smooth, smooth, smooth. And you'll get on top of it where you won't bounce back and forth. And that's the beautiful gift. We get to experience this. We get to grow. See, the vernacular is different than I have to do this so that I can be happy.
Figure it out.
Yeah, that's like Eeyore, right? You know, like do 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 do. I have a cloud over my head, rather than sunshine. We want sunshine because we open up like flowers to the universe and create, and we're happy, and everything we want more or less comes our way, even in little tiny increments, until you can bring it in more and more and more. So watch the way you speak. There's energy in words.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what you're saying too is how, the greatest compass that we have in our lives for what we should follow and when we're connected with our intuition is our emotions. And our emotions are, woven, there's the work on the emotions woven throughout, but certainly we have 2 strong modules specifically on the emotions, understanding how they are your guidance and how to get back. Right? How to be in the emotional space that really aligns us with our greatest self. And so, your intuition, you're going to know if you are hearing from your wise, powerful, greatest self by the way it feels. By the way it feels. If you're acting from fear, if these thoughts or what you are experiencing is fear-based, you can know that is not your intuition. And so learning what your intuition feels like emotionally, it's going to be peace, it's going to be happiness, contentment, and those kind of important emotions that are higher up on what we call the emotional guidance scale, and what is typically
be right here for you.
Yeah,
it's right here for you. It's not way off anywhere. It's right here within you. Yeah. And that's the beauty to understand is you have all these gifts. Like Lori keeps saying, we're not giving you anything that you don't already have. We're just showing you how to access it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that, again, looking at your emotions and staying in that high vibration, like Mia saying, walking through life saying, this is for me. How does this help me in this journey? How do I want to feel in this moment? And what am I feel like I'm lacking? And a good way, sometimes if you're just beginning and you don't really know how you want to feel, imagine that there's somebody with you. And that can be like a loving maternal kind of figure. That can be a more of a like a romantic interest or a best friend or something like that. Imagine them beside you. What would you want them to bring you? How do you want them to help you feel or make you feel because they're there with you? And that
Also, you can talk to Lori and I to yourself too, and see
yeah.
how that moves you forward. What would Lori suggest? What would Mia suggest?
Yeah, and just what, you understanding what do I want from them? I
Mhm.
want them to make me happy. I want them to make me feel whole. I want them to make me feel whatever. And then bam, you got it. Now this is how I want to feel. I don't need to rely on somebody else ever to get to that emotional place, but it helps you identify what are the emotions that I want to live in. And so that can be a very helpful place to start. And then, of course, we can help you understand how do I go about creating that for me in my life, in my circumstances. So if that's a question that is coming up for any of you, again, we have the opportunity for you to sign up for the accelerated call so that we can support you in making a plan and understanding how you're going to get from point A over to point B where you want to be.
And those accelerated calls are really powerful because sometimes Lori and I actually will surprise you and come on together. People are like, wow, this is exciting. Most of the time we do them individually, but it's really powerful because you get to be with two women also who have had 30 years experience combined in the transformational world. And we've done it. We've been there. We've shifted. We've changed. We've healed cancer. We've have 6 children that she acts as if it's like it's not a big deal, but she's still the best mommy I've seen. So it's incredible what we can do with what we're given if we change the way we feel about it, if we change the way we look at it. So get back to center. You are more magnificent than you have ever been told. When I was told, I'll share the story really quick because it's important. In 2001, during 9/11, I had a mental break because I was a very patriotic girl. I went to military school 1 year, but I had military people in my family, very patriotic family. We'd stand up and salute when the theme would come on, the national anthem on TV when we were kids and all that. And so it's really important. I just lost my thought there. Hold on.
You were told, and as a result of your of the PTSD that the
Right.
11 brought up, and you were
Right, thank
told.
you. Yeah, that I was magnificent. Every single day in group therapy, the head of the facility would come in every day, which was Monday through Friday, and she would say, Mia, do you know that you're a miracle? Do you know that you're marvelous? And I was like, well, everybody is, not just me, because that's how I deferred to everybody. I was always that optimistic, positive kid. But it took me 2 years because I thought, why is she saying this to me every single session day, coming in and sitting there? And there's 21 people there. How embarrassing is that I'm getting pointed out? But I spent 2 years to understand, I was a knucklehead, to understand my own magnificence. So that's what I want you to understand. You are magnificent simply because you're human and a soul. You're on this planet. You are bigger, better, brighter than you even recognize. So dig into
Truth.
that aspect of you.
Preach.
Preach of yourself too, guys, because you're worth it.
Yeah, that is really beautiful. So those were the 2 questions that came in. We have another one we put to tomorrow so that we can make sure to address any questions that are here with our lovely live audience. So
Yay.
let's turn it over to you guys and just open up for any questions that came up, either with respect to something that you wanted to bring personally or something that we've talked about today. It's your turn to just be able to get your own support and guidance.
And if this supported you and you don't have any questions, that's okay. We also would like you all to, if you're not going to be here, to write in to Mia@miasigns.com or Lori@LoriMontre.com and tell us what is on your mind. let us know, because we want to be able to answer it even if you're not here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is there anything from the three of you on the line, which is beautiful? Yes, Nicole.
So about listening to that intuition, I am aware of my intuition, and I do listen to it, but I'm still also aware of having trust issues.
Mhm.
And so the trust issues kind of will ignite that scared little child.
Your scared child does get ignited because your mother was not there for you, correct?
Yeah.
I know it, but I'm just saying it for the rest of the people to listen. So I'm going to let you go on, but I want everyone, when their scared little child comes up like that, again, remember, we talked about it earlier, we have the choice, and I'm not saying this to you, Nicole, we have the choice to choose how we want to feel. I'm sorry, go ahead, honey.
Yeah, so I'm just realizing that when I'm able to trust and allow, that I am able to access that intuition and know that it's something greater than myself, which is a part of me, but a reflection of the divine. But then, I skip back into that little child, I guess, comes up and wants to say, this is the way it's always been, this to be the truth, this is the reality of what is. And I'm in the process of, shifting over, but that part is still wanting to hang on and say, this is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really what I was talking about when I said, if we're going to trust our intuition and be able to hear it and to really know that it is our intuition, we have to let go of those limiting beliefs, those old wounds that are informing, right? Because I don't know if you have a specific example of how it's playing out that we could look at. And if not, that's okay.
Like, for example, me being able to be free of pain and to heal myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so my higher self tells me, yes, you've healed yourself of certain diseases and traumas. So yes, you are able to do it. Healing is available to you, and you can live a life pain-free. And then the other part shifts back into the no, you had 30 years, 40 years of pain. This is what you're going to have to live with.
Mm-hmm.
And you're always going to suffer from some kind of ailment and get caught in that suffering mode. And then when you wake up positive and say, today's a new day, I'm going to think positively and trust in the process, but then you get physical pain coming along, it informs you something different, and it challenges your belief, because you're saying, I'm not this body is
Right.
not the whole of me, but it's so intense.
Yeah.
That's like yesterday, we talked about the same, what we're talking about today. It's identifying what you want, right? So you guys, this is not a hit and miss thing. This becomes who we are because we spend our time, our every waking moment, our consciousness, shifting stuff that does not fit us. Do I do it 24/7? Sometimes I don't. There are times when I'm like, dang it, you've spent 3 days not doing your work. Now look at you. It's okay, because all of a sudden I'm like, I'm back on. It's okay. But what it taught me is be aware. Be aware of how, again, we're going to say it, of what you're telling yourself, because you are, so metaphysics is the relationship between God and man. That's really all it is. And so I was raised with, I'm a third generation, and my belief is that I am of God. So if God was here on earth, how would God be? He would be actually in the way that we see human perfection. Well, if I am the child and reflection of God, isn't that mean that I have perfection among myself? Now, we're not talking about, we're a perfectly perfect human. There is no perfectly perfect human. There's perfectly you. literally. Everything about you is perfect. It's supposed to be here in order for you to grow, in order for you to get all your stuff done that your soul came here to do, to change old patterns and beliefs that you weren't able to change when you had visited or incarnated before. This is a very beautiful experience. So allow the beauty to soak in and imbued with you, like as if in meditation, you just can feel the sun on you and the love. If you're ever in doubt, stop and just go inward and say, allow me to feel that self-love, that love that comes down from the divine, from the heavens, however you want to view it. I mean, we have religious people that are spiritual that come to this work. So however you see it, make sure that you're seeing it in the light of good, in the light of love. On the opposite of everything is love, love and freedom, because freedom is love. So be that person that diligently can say when you're in pain, this isn't forever. This is just in the moment. I know what it's like to walk without pain. I've been there. I have it right now. What can I do to support myself now? Not just in my mind, but your physical, right? We have to take care of our physical, our body, mind, and spirit. Everything has to be activated so that we can be who we actually want to be. We can be the creators that pull in stuff right away, have healings immediately. You need a new car, that stuff comes, your housing, everything. No one, and I don't mean you, I mean, humanity doesn't need to suffer the way that it does. And this is part of why we're in this Lion's Gate and the shifting of humanity and all the stuff that we hear, right? So keep up with shifting all those little things. And if you get to a point where you don't feel like shifting, you're just tired, take a nap, relax, and just say, it's okay. Let's just chill for a minute. It's okay. We'll come back to this 10 minutes, an hour, tomorrow morning. But do put a deadline on the amount of time that you're going to sit in your shit. Because when you sit in your shit, you get dirty and everything has to be shifted and changed and cleaned again. Our mental stuff is what I mean. So I got a little bit vocal there with the SHIT word, but I think you guys understand what I mean by that.
Yeah. And Nicole, and when Mia said, this goes back to what we talked to you about yesterday, and I encourage anyone who did not watch the brilliant session from Nicole, just, open up and really allowed us to be with her yesterday. That's live on that's a video up on the Facebook group, the Great Issue Revolution. It does go back to yesterday because you have, and I'm going to introduce a topic here. It's called Parts Work. And you may have heard of it. We're actually working on and going to be offering it as a retreat probably this winter. And so just to give you a taste of it now and a little homework assignment, but this part of you, right? And it is only a part, this part that you're identifying that says, but you've been this way for 40 years, but you're always going to suffer from an ailment, but, and all of these things, it's just a part of you. And it's a younger part of you because it felt like, and it developed because it wants to protect you in some way. So there's some reason why it feels important to stand in that place and to give you those messages.
Mm-hmm.
But and you can tell that that's only a part of you, that it's not the truth of you. You've developed that far that that is not the true me. That is a voice, right? A part of me. So if we can start to tenderly, compassionately meet that part and help it see why that message is not true, then it can stop creating all of this interference, because you want to live in this higher place. You want to live in connection with your greatest self, and you're vacillating back and forth between greatest self and I feel like I'm my parts right now. I feel like I'm that part. I'm identifying with it because it's screaming really loud and I can't hear the voice of my greatest self. I lost that connection because this little part is just throwing a fit, right? So when that happens, and this is the same thing that Mia's saying, only in a little bit different words, when that happens, we have the opportunity It's not a bad thing. And it's never a point where you say, shut up, part. I don't want to hear from you. You are not what I want, because that's just going to make it louder, right? What we want to do is we want to say, hello, part that feels that way. And start a rapport with it and really open communication where we can love that part. It's coming up in order to be heard, in order to be loved, in order to be soothed. If the greatest you, that connected with divinity you, can meet that part and really understand it. Why did it develop? What is it here? And what is it afraid of? And how can you go in and tenderly, reassure it and help it, instead of pushing it down and not liking it and saying you have to go away? When we can embrace that part and really allow it to be heard and loved and start to feel secure, then its messaging changes. And you're no longer fighting back and forth. You're no longer, because we're never going to get anywhere by fighting any part of ourselves. We're only going to make progress when we welcome those in and love them. This part is coming up. It's screaming these messages. And that is an opportunity, just like Mia said, it's not a time to, feel like, oh no, I'm not where I need to be because these voices or these messages keep coming up. It's like, wonderful. Here's this part. Come in, part. Let me be with you. Let me, stroke your head and just reassure you and help you feel safe in this world. And you can do that for yourself now. That part felt like it couldn't. That didn't happen. It wasn't its experience, but it can be now. And so your homework would be to actually, when that voice comes in, instead of, I don't know what your current kind of if you have a way of dealing with it right now.
I told Nicole that I would be meeting with her within the next week to work on parts.
Awesome. Yeah. So bringing that part in and Mia's got some great meditations for that as well, but just, having a little conversation. I see you. You're here to be loved. You deserve to be loved. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not my enemy. You're this beautiful part of me that struggled at some point, and that's why you're here. Come in and sit down. Let me just, show you that love and compassion. And then the beautiful thing is that within a relatively short period of time, that part can change its messages. And so you're not having to battle against it. You're just, very tenderly allowing it to be healed. And then that way it's not standing in the way of you being in touch with and living as your greatest self. So, and that's, the part that we talked about yesterday, the insecure part. So parts work for you is going to be so amazing. So I can't wait for you to dive into that a little bit deeper.
And maybe if you have time, we'll get on together with her. We'll record it and save it for our parts work in the fall or in the winter.
Yeah. It's going to be good stuff. So yeah. The next time your homework is, maybe even I really like to suggest people have a session when they're not in that triggered space, like now, or at some point over the next couple of days when you're feeling calm and peaceful, inviting that part in at that time, because it's easier to work with it when it's not all activated and really, throwing a little tantrum.
And you'll also be doing a lot of parts from your 20s. Besides your younger years too, but when you have the abusive domestic relationship and you fled your country. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great because you've done the work already. And so the fear, you know how to handle the fear. And so you're just going to make them go like this. They're going to go off and disappear. And you guys, when you recognize your parts and you come to a completion with them, guess what happens? There's love there.
Yes.
The whole relationship has changed. Last year, 2021, was the worst year of my life and the greatest year of my life.
Yeah.
Because I grew so much. I had 2 children wanting to commit suicide. I was not healthy. Cancer came back. I was ending a relationship that was bad. But the beauty of it was when I got into my parts work and I got into the fear and I got into all of this, what I discovered on the other side, and I did whatever it took. I used to ask the universe just out loud. I'd ask God, I'd say, I need unconditional love. Where am I going to find that? Well, my puppy came to me, right? So that helped me. And that love, the calmness that I got from that, helped me to actually fall in love more with myself and heal the last of the parts. I'm sure there's more coming, but there was a little 4-year-old who used to raise havoc when I was a child. She was the little mean girl inside me and cursed and did all sorts of stuff. She was hanging around a lot. And I started doing parts work with her. And within a week, I was talking to, it might have been Lori or someone, one of my colleagues. I was talking to them, and all of a sudden, I saw myself outside. I saw her on the grass outside, running around with her long hair, bouncing around happy. So she went from an angry little being to a happy being. And so that's the beauty that we do with the inner child, with the parts work. We shift and we change that. So our storylines change. And these little tears that you see, they're just out of joy of what I've seen and can and feel from this type of growth. Just really, really powerful.
Yeah.
I still love parts work.
Yeah. And I'll just say as we end, number one, if you have interest in parts work, let us know, because I do believe that the spaces at our parts work retreat might go quickly, because it is the number one thing that people ask for. So if you'd like to, explore that a little bit and maybe even save your spot, anyone here watching the replay, let us know, because that is, like I said, our most popular retreats that we do. So and finally, let me just say, Mia has done such a good job of highlighting the fact that things are for us. Things are always for us. And so when she was going through these things, and I myself had, we really needed, both of us needed this year and the things that came up for us, so that we could get so firmly grounded in the process that takes us out of, really allowing us to love those parts and to see every situation that she described, every situation this year in my own life was only a part of me that was only existed so that that part could come in and we could love it and work with it. Without those experiences, then those parts would have remained hidden, and we wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet them and love them and do what we needed to for them and with them. And now we feel so much more complete and integrated. So it's really beautiful work, and clearly somewhere where you are going to absolutely soar. I think it's something that we all need. So with that, we've come to the end of our coaching hour. And again, I want to reiterate that because, as you can see, these questions, they're beautiful, and we open the door and we can provide some guidance. But any of you who are wanting to understand a little bit more, go a little deeper, find and really get clear on what is the greatest version of you and how you're going to get there, we are offering free accelerated calls right now for you to explore that. So if you're watching the replay and that's something that you want, go to thegreatestyoucalendar.com and get on the calendar so that we can have our session with you. If you're on the replay and you thought of a question or have something that you'd like us to address on tomorrow's session, please send that in so that we can do that. And anything else, Mia?
Also, Lori, if it's easier for you, if you're watching it on the replay, not at home, on your computer, but at home on your computer on Facebook. If you're watching the replay there and you want to put your question there, put your question there, tag Lori and I, and put your question there. If it feels like you don't have the time to then switch over on your phone or your whatever to write us, feel free to just put it there, but make sure that you tag us so that we see it.
Yeah.
On this video that you're watching right here.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. It was our absolute pleasure to be with you, and we look forward to lots more, spending more time with you, and certainly to tomorrow.
Yes. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.